In reality, they're not after him, they're after you. He's just in the way. I firmly believe this is true, and they're trying to get him out of the way so they can get to you. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants, highlight woke absurdities, and also highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. So, there's a freedom fighter of the day, President Trump, and there is some tyrannical behavior being waged against him. Ellen Bragg, George Soros, the leftist party. Ah! So as you know, unless you've been living under a rock, in which case that can't be comfortable living under a rock, you already know they are indicting President Trump. Indicting is just a fancy word for charging President Trump with a crime. Now, what does this mean? Is it valid? What's going to happen? I've got a perspective on this. First off, I believe this is completely politically motivated, which politically motivated criminal charges against political opponents of one party, that is anthrax to a democracy. It is a very scary reality that's happening right now. And I don't mean to fearmonger, I just mean to reality monger. So you look at dictatorships, communists, and what you see is the party that's in power. Anytime someone is being praised by the public who's of a different party, different perspectives, they throw them in jail. Sometimes they just disappear. Clinton body count up by 1. They put him in prison. It's hard to believe that's what's happening here. You might say, well, maybe President Trump did commit a crime. I'll get to that thought in just a second. But first, a lot of us can look at Russia and Vladimir Putin, say like, that dude is corrupt. Now I'm not like, I stand with Ukraine. Let's send like a $45 trillion to Ukraine. I'm not in that boat at all, but I am in the boat where I look at Putin. I'm like, dude, that guy is legitimately a corrupt dictator. And over the past couple years, there's been a guy in Russia who's become popular. His name is Naval. He's a political opponent of Putin. And having free and fair elections isn't really something that dictators like to do. It's not something that corrupt political parties like to do. So it's one thing to have honky business going on in an election. It's another thing to put your opponent in jail before they even have a chance to run against you. So that's what Putin has done with Naval over in Russia. He's also allegedly tried to poison Naval. Someone did poison him while he was in Germany. And of course, Putin's like, I don't know who did that. Yeah. I've got my suspicions. That's what's happening here in America. Now you can say, well, JP, I don't know if it was politically motivated, like maybe Trump did commit a crime. Let's just live in a world for a second where, this alleged crime that President Trump committed of paying hush money to porn star Stormy Daniels, which ironically, normally people pay her to have sex, but in this world, he had sex with her and then paid her to not tell anybody. I don't know that that's true, but living in the world where that is true, and whatever level of crime that is, from what I'm told, it's a misdemeanor, but Soros-backed district attorneys trying to make it a felony. Living in that world for a second, it's still a politically motivated charge against President Trump. One, it happened years ago. And two, you look at Alvin Bragg, this district attorney from Manhattan. He's Soros-backed. So George Soros, he is, I guess scientifically speaking, scum of the earth. He wants to destroy America. He has literally said that. George Soros backs a lot of leftist politicians. He's backed a lot of leftist district attorneys. And one of his, what I speculate, I can't say this is absolutely certain, but it sure as hell looks certain to me. One of George Soros's strategies to destroy America is to elevate crime. Why do you want to do that? If you have lawlessness, then the bedrock, the foundation that a country sits on, it starts to crumble. Open the border while you're at it. Just open that thing up. Just open it up. Come on in. Come on. We're not even going to prosecute. You can do whatever you want. So when you have criminals without consequences or without real consequences, then you're incentivizing criminals. You're like, there's not much in the way of consequences you're going to face. So go ahead and commit crime all you want. So I say that because Soros-backed district attorneys that he funds their campaigns to get into office, then they're in office, then they do his bidding, they are traditionally very soft on crime. Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, he is no different. He's been very soft on crime. Then why is he being hard on the misdemeanor crime of President Trump that allegedly happened years ago? It's completely out of line with how Alvin Bragg is prosecuting and not prosecuting, as the case most likely is, crimes in New York. So for me, it's not a very big logical jump to then say he's so soft on crime. But the reason why he's so hard on this alleged crime of President Trump is because it's politically motivated. So even living in the world where we just pretend, okay, President Trump did it, he's guilty. The fact that it is a politically motivated prosecution, indictment, that is a very sad day in America. It's a very sad precedence to have happen in America. It is a middle finger in the beautiful democracy that is America. And that's just that world. Then there's also the world where President Trump did not commit the crime, and yet there's the politically motivated prosecution, politically motivated framing of evidence. That's an even sadder day in America. And then just some of the details, if you care to take a look. Gateway Pundit reports, breaking leak, Trump hit with 34 counts related to business fraud. So they're going after President Trump. As you know, they've been going after him over and over and over and over again. Impeachment 1, impeachment 2, the January 6th witch hunt. They have been doing everything they can to get Trump in prison. Why? I believe it is if someone is convicted of a felony, then they cannot run for office. So not only are they wanting to diminish the power that Trump currently has being out of office, and he has a lot of power, a lot of influence, they're also obviously wanting to prevent him from running for president. Why? Well, we started out this video with this statement, sums it all up. In reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. Trump has repeatedly called out the deep state. He has said, if I get back into office, I will dismantle the deep state. He calls out corruption. He calls out the swamp, the icky way that politics run. He has withdrawn us from wars. He's been the first president in a long time that hasn't gotten us into wars. Little threatening to the military-industrial complex. Do you have kit? Cool. We're going to send your sons and daughters over to fight this war that we're saying we need to be in because we get to make a lot of money supplying all the bullets and missiles that your sons and daughters are using while they're in harm's way. So what did President Trump have to say about this? Well, his statement released today says, "This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history." Fact check, true. From the time I came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as your president of the United States, the radical left Democrats, the enemy of the hardworking men and women of this country, have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement. Fact check, true. You remember just like I do, Russia, 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 the Mueller hoax, Ukraine, 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 impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, the illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid, and now this. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Mar-a-Lago raid. Yeah, it's more political persecution and witch hunting, and President Trump continues. The Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. The Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, including spying on my campaign, but weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be a president of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for president has never happened before, ever. It'd be funny if he just threw a jab in there at DeSantis, just to be Trump. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros, is a disgrace. Fact check true. Rather than stopping the unprecedented crime wave taking over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders and burglaries and assaults he should be focused on. This is how Bragg spends his time. I believe this witch hunt will backfire massively on Joe Biden. The American people realize exactly what the radical left Democrats are doing here. Everyone can see it. So our movement and our party, united and strong, will first defeat Alvin Bragg, and then we will defeat Joe Biden. And we're going to throw every last one of these crooked Democrats out of office so we can make America great again. So that's the statement from President Trump. What's my prediction about what's going to happen? Well, I'm curious, what's your prediction? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you think this is all going to play out. My prediction is, first off, as I've said, I believe this is an absolutely politically motivated witch hunt. My prediction is, I don't know. So even if President Trump is innocent, I don't have enough faith in our justice system for justice to be served. I mean, first off, this district attorney, backed by Soros, don't worry about that. Don't think too hard and long about that. The fact that he is prosecuting President Trump, the fact that President Trump has been gone after in a prolonged witch hunt, that already tells me our justice system is compromised. The district attorney is absolutely part of the justice system. I wish I could sit here and say, like, President Trump, he's innocent, justice will be served, it'll all come on in court. I hope that's the case. I don't have full faith that that will happen. If the evil plays out and President Trump is found guilty, and I believe they're trying to push this as a felony, which then means, based on my intellectual understanding of the law, because I identify as a lawyer, then that would mean President Trump is barred from running for office again. If that were the case, I'm just extrapolating here, then my hope is that President Trump would then put his support behind DeSantis and everything's united. DeSantis comes out and just mops the floor in the 2024 election. But let's say Trump is found innocent or whatever. It's just a frivolous misdemeanor thing he's found guilty of, and he can still run for office. My prediction, like so many others out there, this is one of the best things that can happen for Trump's campaign. People love an underdog and hate bullies. Hard to say Trump's an underdog. Like, he's a former president of the United States. He's a billionaire. That doesn't really look like an underdog. But he is an underdog and people know it. The mainstream media, the freaking current administration and the US government is out to get him, bullying him. He's up against the entire deep state. So that's the Goliath. Trump is the underdog here. He's the David, and people love that. And along with people just naturally loving an underdog who's being unjustly bullied, this behavior, this prosecuting behavior, it's exposing the corruption. I think the more they do things like this, the more people wake up. I heard a recent poll, and I believe it's 40% of Democrats don't agree with this political persecution of President Trump. They don't agree with it. And I would speculate for a lot of these 40% Democrats who don't agree with it, they see the bigger picture. They see, like, our country, our freedom, our democracy hangs in the balance. And if this is an unjust prosecution, it is one of the nails in the coffin of everything beautiful about America. So for these greedy, corrupt, godless people, Soros and his people and everybody else behind this, I think their attempts to take down Trump, they're strengthening what they're against. They're strengthening the side of freedom. They are snapping the fingers and helping wake people up out of the mass formation psychosis they've been in. The mass formation psychosis of the everyday media brainwashing, all the propaganda, the Trump derangement syndrome. This is all curable. And I think the corrupt people are pushing too hard, too fast. And because they are, they're actually waking people up. So my prediction, if Trump isn't barred from running again because of being found guilty of a felony, I believe he just gets stronger. I believe he absolutely wins the election in 2024. Is he awarded the election win? That's a different story. A story we can't talk about on YouTube here, but tune in with me on Rumble and we'll talk more about that sometime soon. Lastly, my prediction, and I don't like this, but if we go down the yellow brick road or we go down the crummy brick road, Trump's found guilty, can't run for office, I think there's going to be a lot of unrest. People rise up against tyranny, either sooner or later. It happens all over, whether they're oppressed for generations or they do it sooner than that. Right now, even just the announcement Trump is being indicted, people see that as tyranny. It creates unrest. So I absolutely don't want to see us get to a point where people have to rise up in ways that you could imagine. But if it comes to that, people will do that. Now, obviously, if that's necessary to save our democracy, then I support that. I just don't want us to get to that reality. But nonetheless, part of my prediction is this prosecution is creating unrest. If Trump is found guilty, if he can't run for office, it'll create a lot more unrest. But let me know what you think in the comments below about what's going on and what your prediction is that's going to happen. I appreciate you watching. And once again, I will leave you with this thought. In reality, they're not after me. They're after you. I'm just in the way.